Welcome back, all you unfurloughed federal workers, contractors, and people lost in national parks without anybody to find them. How was your commute today? Just kidding. If your home is anywhere north of Baton Rouge and you stepped outside today, your bloodstream would go from neat to rocks in under a minute, and you'd make the prettiest little shattering sound as you fell to the ground. On a day like today, with lows near zero from Boston to Kansas City, it's much smarter to shelter in place somewhere you can stay for a long, long time. That's why I've come to the Department of Motor Vehicles, where I will have no choice but to be safely indoors until the polar vortex heads out to sea. The icy stare of the people at the counter are warm compared to the arctic leer of the great outdoors. If you do go out, remember that layers are the best way to keep yourself alive. There are two techniques I recommend. Cotton and wool are useless against this level of frigidity. So are synthetic fabrics, including my own hand-stitched line of beaded bootcut thermal jeggings. They'll fit your legs like a glove, a weird glove with two really long fingers for your legs, is the motto, which I'm still working on. Also, I'm not really good at sewing. So let me tell you about the two real techniques to stay safe in a cold snap. First technique is to do like the citrus farmers in Florida do when it drops into the 20s. They spray their oranges and lemons with water, which then freezes. This insulating coat of ice keeps the fruit itself from freezing underneath. Before heading out tonight, hose yourself down with cold water. If you wear gloves, be sure to really soak them, because that's where the frostbite first hits. If you're out for a long time tonight and you're worried you might dry off before you get home, break into a municipal pool. Nobody's guarding them this time of year, and it might be counterintuitive to think you can't be freezing if you're already frozen. But it works. It works for those who have access to water, that is. But what about the growing number of people who don't because of climate change and the distribution networks that permits billionaires' avarice to flow freely, but a glass of water, not so much? Here's the second technique. Coat yourself in hydrogen. It's the most abundant element in the universe, so this is easy. You need to layer on a lot of it, though, enough to reach critical mass and ignite it as it collapses in on itself. Once the fusion reaction gets underway, though, your giant gas cloud outer layer, let's call it a corona romper, will do the rest. The hydrogen will form helium, which will drop down into a new layer, and which will fuse with itself to then form carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and so forth. The reaction starts at about 10 million degrees Kelvin, so you should be okay here in New York all day and night, and safe for up to half an hour if you're in Minneapolis. The process has kept our nice sun totally warm for 6 billion years, and it's in space where it's almost as cold as Chicago right now. Two words of warning, however. If you gather too much hydrogen, you will go to supernova, which is a bogus move, the man-spreading of the stars. Also, don't expect your new fusion coat to make you rich, as the reaction stops around iron. If you want to make gold, you'll have to collide two neutron stars, which can only be accomplished with help from the Pointer sisters, and then only rarely. The polar vortex is a new, totally enjoyable phenomenon. Prior to climate change, there were robust atmospheric cycles that kept the cold areas cold, the hot hot, and the in-between temperate. But those cycles are failing. And so great big polar masses of air are wobbling on down, making the Midwest colder than the North Pole. The North Pole is about 30 degrees warmer than it normally is right now, and we've got snow as far south as Alabama. Short term, the worst is behind us. New York City will see a mix of sun and clouds this weekend, around 20 degrees Friday, through the 30s on Saturday and Sunday, and Chicago will be warming up too. From its lows in the negative 20s, it'll skyrocket to the positive 20s on Friday and into the 40s on Saturday and Sunday. Remember to keep your hands elevated all weekend so the blood doesn't rush back into them and jet out your fingertips like gross laser beams. That's short term. Medium term, the polar vortex will be replaced on the west coast with more forest fires, the east with hurricanes and tornadoes up the middle. The unconscionable environmental policies of the current administration are only accelerating that. The White House has done so much to make America less livable that were the rest of the world not also janked, it might not need its inhuman immoral immigration policy to discourage desperate families from coming here. It's 75 and sunny in Mexico City through the weekend into next week. And even if the pipes weren't frozen in Flint, Michigan, you wouldn't want to drink what's coming out of them. Long term, the outlook is for humans to die off because of our unsustainable numbers and insistence on burning up all the dinosaurs to power our lifestyles. After that, look for a gradual rise of a new civilization, let's say a lemur-based civilization, who will do just fine until they discover our remains now in petroleum form miles beneath the surface, and when they burn us to fuel their machines and wreck the lemur-friendly environment all over again. It'll be the second time that climate change will have been caused by humans. That's it for now. Stay warm. If you have further questions, my book, which I've totally neglected to grab a copy of, will totally fail to answer any of those questions. There's a link in the bio if I can figure out how to do that better than I can figure out how to get a book into my hand to hold up. And please get a copy of it, and as they say, like this video with that thing, and remember to set your clocks ahead this weekend. That's it for now. Farewell.